Good morning, students. Welcome to our online class. This is your social science period. Students, in this video, I am going to continue the same unit or chapter from history book, that is Nationalism in India. I repeat, through this recorded video mode class, I am going to continue the same chapter or unit from history textbook, that is Nationalism in India, and I will continue today from the topic Swaraj in Plantations. Swaraj in Plantations from page number 60. Swaraj in Plantations from page number 60. From there I'll start. Now, Swaraj in Plantations. I told you about the indentured labor. Baba Ramchandra, who was a sannyasi, earlier he has been to Fiji as indentured labor. I mean, he was taken by the British government to Fiji country to work there as a labor. So like that, many people are being forcefully captured by the British government and taken to different parts of the world or country and forced them to work. And these people are called indentured labor, and these labor have no freedom. They cannot come to their homes once in a year also. So let us see what is the meaning of Swaraj for the plantation workers. Plantation workers means what? Those workers who are working in this plantation area, like tea plantation, coffee plantation, banana plantation. So those workers who are working in what? Gardens, plantation gardens, banana, tea, coffee, rubber, okay, etc. So for plantation workers, what is meant by Swaraj? Earlier we have studied that what is meant by Swaraj for tribal people. For tribal people, Swaraj means what? They should be given permission to enter into their forest areas. They should be given permission to allow their animals to graze in their forest areas. They should be allowed to collect the fuel wood from forest areas. They should be allowed to collect fruits from forest areas. That is called what? Swaraj. That is the really meaning of Swaraj to the tribal people. So now let us study what is the meaning of Swaraj for the plantation workers. Workers too had their own understanding of Mahatma Gandhi and the notion of Swaraj. I mean, the workers are also having their own opinion regarding the meaning of Swaraj. Okay. For plantation workers, what is actual means Swaraj? Let us see. Several plantation workers are working in Assam. In Assam, which gardens are there? Tea gardens are there. So plantation workers in Assam, okay, freedom meant the right to move freely in and out of the confined space which they had been enclosed. I told you these plantation workers are forced to work in the plantation gardens by the British government, and these people have no freedom. I mean, they cannot go to their home once in a year without permission. So for such people, what is the meaning of Swaraj? So according to the plantation workers, Swaraj means they should have freedom. They should get freedom to move in and move out from the place where they were enclosed. I mean, this plantation workers, for them, Swaraj means they should be permitted. They should be given freedom to go out and to come in. I mean, to out and in from the place where they were enclosed. And it meant what? Retaining a link with the village from which they had come. And they should also be allowed to go to their villages from where they had been what? Brought, or from where they came to work in their gardens. These plantation workers should be given permission, should be given freedom to go to the villages at least once in a year from where they came to work in these gardens. But that was not given. Now, one important reading I'm giving here, date I'm giving here, listen carefully. under the Inland Immigration Act of 1859. Underline that one. Under the Inland, INLAND, under the Inland Immigration Act of 1859, plantation workers were not permitted to leave their tea gardens without permission. One act was passed by the British government, Inland Immigration Act of 1859. According to this act, what? Inland Immigration Act 1859, which is passed by the British government. According to this act, they are not permitted to go to their home or any other place without the permission of the British government. So when they heard about the non-cooperation movement which is launched by the Mahatma Gandhi in 1921, when the plantation workers heard about the non-cooperation movement which was started by Mahatma Gandhi in 1921, thousands of workers defied their authorities. They opposed their authorities. They rose into revolt against their authorities and left the plantation areas. When the non-cooperation movement started by Mahatma Gandhi in 1921, and when these plantation workers heard about this non-cooperation movement, then immediately these plantation workers, they defied the authorities, their authorities under whom they are working. They opposed their authorities under whom they are working and left the plantations and headed towards their home. I mean, they started going to their home, who were not allowed to go for many years. They believed that the Gandhi Raj was coming and everyone would be given land in their own villages. These plantation workers, they believed that very soon there will be Gandhi Raj in our country India, and when this Gandhi Raj will come, definitely the land will be distributed to these people in their own villages and they could happily do cultivation. However, they never reached their destination. I mean, these people, these plantation workers, they opposed their authorities, they defied their authorities and started moving towards their villages, from railway stations, from the seaports, wherever, ships. But however, they could not able to reach their destination. They could not reach their home. See, stranded on the way by a railway and a steamer like strike. At the time, the railway strikes were there. Steamers strikes were there. So stranded on the way by a railway and a steamer strike, they were caught by the police and brutally beaten up. Actually, at the time, railway strike was going on. Steamer strike was going on. So actually, from Assam, if they want to come to some other their villages, they have to travel through railways or through rivers, through steamers. But at the time, there was a strike of railways and steamers. Hence, they could not reach their home. And in the middle of their way, they were captured by the police and they were brutally beaten. They were brutally beaten. So here you understood what is the meaning of Swaraj for plantation workers. I mean, the freedom to go their home and the freedom to go in and out from their place where they were enclosed. Now, the visions of these movements were not defined by the Congress program. The visions of these movements were not defined by the Congress program. They interpreted the term Swaraj in their own ways. I mean, the plantation workers, peasants, tribal people, they themselves defined the term, the meaning of the Swaraj. Actually, the Indian National Congress leaders or the Indian National Congress Party have not defined what actually Swaraj means. Actually, Swaraj means what? Freedom from British control. Here, Swaraj means self-rule. They want to end British rule. They want to bring self-rule. But here, the tribal people, the peasants of Awadh, the tribal people of Gudem Mills, and this plantation workers in Assam, for them, Swaraj means different thing. They interpreted the term Swaraj in their own ways, imagining it to be a time when all sufferings and troubles would be over. They believed that if Swaraj will be there, all the troubles will be over. Yet, when the tribals chanted Gandhiji's name and raised slogans demanding Swatantra Bharat, who used this word? Tribals. Tribals chanted Mahatma Gandhi name and raised the slogan for demanding Swatantra Bharat. They were also emotionally relating to all India agitation. When they acted in the name of Mahatma Gandhi or linked their movement to that of the Congress, they were identifying with a movement which went beyond the limits of their immediate locality. Here one picture is given, I'm showing you. Here a picture is given. This picture will be given in the board exam in the question paper, and they will ask which picture this belongs to. This picture belongs to the Chauri Chaura movement, which took place in 1922, where the non-cooperation movement started turned into what? Violent. So this picture is related to Chauri Chaura incident. I'm reading. See, at Chauri Chaura in 1922. So at Chauri Chaura in Gorakhpur. Where is Chauri Chaura? In Gorakhpur in Uttar Pradesh. Where is Chauri Chaura? In Gorakhpur in Uttar Pradesh. A peaceful demonstration in a bazaar turned into a violent clash with the police. Hearing of the incident, Mahatma Gandhi called a halt to the non-cooperation movement. I mean, it is because of the Chauri Chaura incident at Gorakhpur in Uttar Pradesh when Mahatma Gandhi heard that the non-cooperation movement, which was turned into violent one, then he felt very unhappy and immediately gave a call to end this non-cooperation movement. So Mahatma Gandhi Mahatma Gandhi called off the non-cooperation movement when his non-cooperation movement turned into a violent one at Chauri Chaura, Gorakhpur in Uttar Pradesh in 1922. Okay, now moving to our next topic, that is, this is civil disobedience movement. Yes, towards civil disobedience movement, page number 62. Civil disobedience movement, very important. Listen carefully. Towards civil we are not started this civil disobedience. Towards civil disobedience movement, from the end of non-cooperation movement in 1922, okay, up to the beginning of civil disobedience movement, what all things were happened? From the end of the non-cooperation movement until the beginning of civil disobedience movement, what are all the things were happened, that we will discuss here. So now listen, in February 1922, underline the date, which is very important. In February 1922, Mahatma Gandhi decided to withdraw the non-cooperation movement. Now the question is, why Mahatma Gandhi decided to withdraw his non-cooperation movement on February 1922? Just now I told, because of the Chauri Chaura incident, which had turned into violent. So in February 1922, Mahatma Gandhi decided to withdraw the non-cooperation movement. He felt that, or I can say he felt the movement was turning violent. Mahatma Gandhi realized that the non-cooperation movement, which started on the basis of truth and non-violence, slowly it is turning into violent one. And in many places, the Satyagrahis needed to be properly trained. And Mahatma Gandhi also felt, first thing is what? This movement is turning into what? Violent one. What? Non-cooperation movement. Second one, Mahatma Gandhi also felt that in many places the Satyagrahis, they're not properly trained. So he felt that they needed to be properly trained before they would be ready for a mass struggle. In order to carry a mass struggle at large scale throughout India, nationwide, these people, these Satyagrahis who are working under Mahatma Gandhi, they should be properly trained. So within the Congress, some leaders were now tired of mass struggles. The Congress party leaders, some of the Congress party leaders, they were tired of doing mass struggles since for a long time and wanted to participate in the elections. Wanted to participate in the elections to the provincial councils that had been set up by the Government of India Act 1919. Actually, Government of India Act 1919, you underline, Government of India Act 1919. Actually, 3 acts were passed. Government of India Act 1909, which is called Minto Morley Reforms. Government of India Act 1909, that is called Minto Morley Reforms. Similarly, once again, the government passed one act, that is 1919 Act. So the Government of India Act 1919 is called Montague-Chelmsford Reforms. Montague-Chelmsford Reforms. And finally, the Government of India Act 1935, it was passed. Okay. So here what happened? Some of the Congress leaders, they were tired with the mass struggles for a long time. Now these leaders, they felt that to participate in the elections for provincial councils that had been declared by the Government of India Act 1919, they felt that it was important to oppose British policies within the councils. Instead of doing the mass struggles, why don't we participate in the provincial council elections? Why don't we get some power, and with that power we can easily fight with the what British policies, and we will try to end the British government. Okay, they felt that it was important to oppose British. They felt that it was important to oppose British policies within the councils, argue for reforms, and what also demonstrate that these councils were not truly democratic. I mean, these things they want to do. I mean, by entering into the council, provincial council elections, they want to inform the British government that whatever policies they are doing, they are not correct, they are not democratic, and they are not true, and they'll oppose these policies. Now listen, underline. C.R. Das, I mean Chitrandan Das. C.R. Das, Chitrandan Das, and Motilal Nehru. Here, Motilal Nehru is the father of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Motilal Nehru is the father of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So, Motilal Nehru and C.R. Das, Chitrandan Das. Okay, these two leaders formed the Swaraj Party. You will be asked, who formed the Swaraj Party? Who formed the Swaraj Party? The Swaraj Party was formed by C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru, who is the father of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Okay, Swaraj Party within the Congress. I repeat, Das and Das founded the Swaraj Party within the Congress to argue for a return to council politics. They are C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru. Motilal Nehru here is the father of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So both within the Congress they formed a new party called Swaraj Party, and they argue for a return to council politics. But youngest leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru, but youngest leader at the time Nehru was young, but the youngest leader Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose pressed for more radical agitation. They forced, I mean Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose, the young leaders, they pressed for more radical agitation and for full independence. I mean, full independence means what? Full independence here means what? Purna Swaraj. Complete independence. Purna Swaraj. Complete independence. So, who is the person who wanted Purna Swaraj? That is Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. It is Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru who wanted Purna Swaraj or complete independence. Okay. So, in such a situation of internal debate and dissension, two factors again shaped Indian politics towards the late 1920s. The first was the effect of the World War. First was the effect of worldwide economic depression. One more important objective question. The worldwide economic depression started in the year 1929-30. The worldwide economic depression started in the year 1929-30. So the effect of the worldwide economic depression, agricultural prices began to fall when the worldwide economic depression started. When the worldwide economic depression started, then all the agricultural prices began to fall from 1926 to and collapsed after 1930s. As the demand for agricultural goods fell, when the agricultural goods demand was decreased and exports also declined, peasants found it difficult to sell their harvest and pay the revenue. The Great Worldwide Depression started. When this Great Worldwide Depression started, then the agricultural prices began to fall. It started falling from 1920s, and by 1930s they were completely collapsed. And as the demand for agricultural goods fell, when the exports also dramatically fell, then it became very difficult for the peasants to sell their harvests in the market so that they can pay the land revenue to the landlords or talukdars or British government. By 1930, the village side. By 1930, the countryside was in turmoil. Lot of disturbances. Against this background, the new Tory government in Britain constituted. In 1930s. In 1930, a new government came to power in England. That is called Tory government in Britain. T-O-R-Y, Tory. So when this Great Worldwide Economic Depression started, so at that time a new Tory government was formed in Britain, constituted in a statutory commission under Sir John Simon. So a new Tory government was came to power in Britain in 1930s, and this new government formed one statutory commission which is headed by Sir John Simon. Okay, listen, Sir John Simon. So which government formed this statutory commission headed by Sir John Simon? The Tory government in Britain, which came in 1930s. Uh, 1930s means what? Actually, before 1930 only it was happened. So against this background, the new Tory government in Britain constituted a statutory, independent commission headed by Sir John Simon, set up in response. Why this statutory commission was formed? Why this statutory commission was formed by the Tory government in Britain? It was set up in response to the nationalist movement. The commission set up against the in response to the nationalist movement in India. We are doing the nationalist movement. The movement to achieve independence. So against that movement, this commission was formed. The commission was to look into the functioning of constitutional system in India. The main work of this Simon Commission, the main work of the statutory commission headed by Sir John Simon was to look into the functioning of the constitutional system in India and to suggest some changes. The problem was that the commission did not have a single Indian member. One strong thing is here that actually in the commission, the statutory commission, which is constituted by the Tory government of Britain, headed by Sir John Simon, and the task was given to this commission to go to India and to look into the functioning of the constitutional system in India and to suggest further reforms, changes. The main problem with this commission is that in this commission, not a single Indian member is there. Not a single Indian member is there in this Simon Commission. Okay, they were all British. All members of the commission was Britishers. Now listen carefully. Here objective questions are there and one question answer is also there. Listen carefully. When the Simon Commission arrived in India in 1928, actually the Simon Commission was formed in 1927. Simon Commission actually it was constituted in 1927. But when it arrived, when it visited in India, at the time was 1928. So the Simon Commission arrived in India in 1928. It was greeted with the slogan, "Go back Simon," when the Simon Commission visited India in order to see the functioning of the constitutional system in India and to make further changes. When the commission reached India, then all Indians welcomed this commission with the slogan, "Simon, go back." Why? Because this commission was constituted only with the Britishers, not a single member was given the chance in this commission. All the parties, Indian National Congress, Depressed Class Party, Muslim League Party, etc., all parties including the Congress and the Muslim League participated in the demonstrations against what? This Simon Commission. Okay, in an effort to win them over, the Viceroy Lord Irwin, at the time in India, Viceroy Lord Irwin was there. Lord Irwin was the Viceroy of India. So he announced in October 1929 a vague offer of dominion status. A vague offer means what? A promise which is not meant to keep. Okay, so Lord Irwin, the Viceroy of India, he made a vague promise to India that very soon they are going to give India a dominion status, independent status for India in an unspecified future. We'll give in future, but when we are going to give, it is not particular. So Lord Irwin, he gave a vague promise in October 1921 that very soon they are going to give a independent dominion status for all Indians, but in an unspecified future. And a round table conference to discuss a future constitution. And he also said that we are going to organize a round table conference in London. Lord Viceroy said we are going to organize a round table conference in London in which we will invite all the political parties which are there in India to discuss that how to make a constitution for India so that If we are able to prepare the constitution, then on a slow basis, gradually, very soon we will leave our country. We will leave your country. We are going to give independence. This declaration did not satisfy the Congress leaders. Though though that Lord Irwin, the Viceroy of India, said like this, that they are going to give dominion status to India. They are going to invite all the parties to discuss in England in the Roundtable Conference to frame the constitution. But this declaration have not satisfied the Congress leaders. The radicals within the Congress, radicals means what? Those people who want immediate changes. Those leaders who want immediate changes by using forceful methods if necessary. So the radical leaders within the Congress, led by Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose, became more assertive. Radicals here, Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose, both are radicals. They become more assertive. Whereas the liberals and moderates who were proposing constitutional system, there are liberals and moderates who want to go on peaceful methods, gradual methods, in a requestful manner. So the liberals and moderates who were proposing constitutional system within the framework of British Dominion gradually lost their influence. Those leaders who are going on the basis of request, pray, petition, and protest, they lost their importance. Only young generation leaders who believed in radical changes, their importance was growing on at that time. In December 1929, listen carefully. In December 1929, under the presidency of Jawaharlal Nehru, in December 1929, underline the date. In December 1929, under the leadership of the presidency of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, in the Lahore session Congress meeting, all people demanded for Purna Swaraj or full independence for India. That means once the annual meeting of Indian National Congress was held at Lahore, at that time Lahore is a part of India. So the Lahore session was organized in 1929 December. At the time, the Congress leader who presided that meeting was headed by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So he said that in that meeting that we will work for Purna Swaraj or full independence to India. He also declared that on 26 January 1930, in the next year, 26 January 1930, that day we will declare India's independence, and we would be celebrated as Independence Day when people, and on that day he said that all the people will take a pledge to struggle for complete independence. But Pandit Nehru in the Lahore session, December 1929, he said that now onwards we will work for Purna Swaraj or complete independence or full independence to India. He also declared that in the coming year, 26 January 1930, we will declare India's independence. On that day, all people will take a pledge for complete independence. But the celebrations attract very little attention. Whatever he declared and whatever is announced to do to the people, that was not attracted by many people. So Mahatma Gandhi had to find another way. When Nehru's declaration was not attracted or not liked by many people of India, so what happened? Mahatma Gandhi had to find a way to relate this abstract idea of freedom. He has to relate this abstract idea of freedom to more concrete issues of everyday life. Hence, Mahatma Gandhi decided to start another movement that is called Salt March and the Civil Disobedience Movement. In order to make the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru's dream, that abstract idea of independence, Purna Swaraj or complete independence to India, he decided to start two more movements, that is Salt March and the Civil Disobedience Movement. Now listen carefully. Salt March or Civil Disobedience Movement, it was started by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Mahatma Gandhi. I repeat, the Salt March and the Civil Disobedience Movement, these two, actually Salt March comes within the Civil Disobedience Movement. Salt March is a part of Civil Disobedience Movement and it was carried under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi. Now listen, Mahatma Gandhi found in salt is a powerful symbol that could unite the nation. Mahatma Gandhi believed that it is the salt which is a powerful symbol which could unite all the people of India. Mahatma Gandhi found that it is the salt which is a powerful symbol that could unite the nation India. So on 31st January 1930, on 31st January 1930, I repeat, on 31st January 1930, he sent a letter to Viceroy Lord Irwin. On 31st January 1930, Mahatma Gandhi sent a letter to Lord Irwin, the Viceroy, the Viceroy of India, stating 11 demands. Okay, he wrote some demands that if these demands are fulfilled on or before so and so date, then everything will be fine. Otherwise, Mahatma Gandhi is going to launch a nationwide what movement, that is civil disobedience movement. He clearly stated in this letter that if Lord Viceroy is agreeing for this stating 11 demands, if he is agreeing for this 11 demands, then everything is fine. But if the British government will not agree for these demands, then Mahatma Gandhi decided to start a nationwide movement. So some of these were of general interest. Out of 11 demands, some of the demands are general interest and others were specific demands of different classes. For industrialists to peasants, from industrialists to peasants, these demands are separate. I mean, some of the demands are related to peasants, some are demands related to industrialists, some of the demands are related to common people, like that. The idea was to make the demand wide ranging so that all classes within the Indian society could identify with them, and everyone could be brought together into an united campaign. The most stirring, or I can say most stirring of all, was the demand to abolish the tax on salt. One of the demand which Mahatma Gandhi made in the 11 demands is what? To end the tax on salt, to abolish the tax on salt by the British government, because salt is a commonly consumed good in our daily life. From rich to poor, all are using the salt, all are using and eating salt. So the most stirring of all was the demand to abolish the salt tax. Salt was something consumed by rich and the poor alike, and it was one of the most essential item of food. The tax on salt and the government monopoly over its production. The tax on salt and the government monopoly, I mean British government had the control over the salt manufacturing. They are manufacturing salt. Indians have no right to manufacture salt. Okay, and at whatever rate they will sell, we have to purchase. So the most stirring of all was the demand to abolish the salt tax. Salt was a common good that is used by all the people in our daily life, from rich to poor people, all are using that one alike. Salt was something consumed by all the people. So the tax on salt and the government monopoly over its production, Mahatma Gandhi revealed that most oppressive phase of British rule. I mean, it is very bad that keeping tax on salt by the British government. It is very bad that British government have monopoly control over the salt manufacturing. Mahatma Gandhi's letter was in a way an ultimatum to the British government. He gave a letter to Lord Viceroy. He gave an ultimatum that within this specified time, if these 11 demands are not fulfilled, then he is going to launch a nationwide movement that is called civil disobedience movement. So Mahatma Gandhi's letter was an ultimatum. In a way, it is an ultimatum to the British government. If the demands were not fulfilled by March 11th, if the demands which is stated by Mahatma Gandhi in the letter will not be fulfilled by March 11th, 1930, okay, then Congress party would launch a civil disobedience movement in India. Lord Irwin was unwillingly to negotiate. He was not willing to negotiate with Mahatma Gandhi on these demands. Lord Irwin was not willing to negotiate. So Irwin was unwilling to negotiate. He don't want to make any negotiation with Mahatma Gandhi. So Mahatma Gandhi started his famous Salt March, accompanied by 17 followers. Now I am telling what is Salt March or Dandi March. What is Salt March or Dandi March? Listen carefully. So when the ultimatum was given by Mahatma Gandhi, when the Viceroy Irwin was not responded, he is not interested to do any negotiation with Mahatma Gandhi. The time is over, 11th March. Then Mahatma Gandhi decided to launch the Salt March. So Mahatma Gandhi on 12th March 1930, I repeat, on 12th March 1930, Mahatma Gandhi started his famous Salt March or Dandi March, accompanied by 78 of his trusted volunteers with him. The march was over 240 miles. How much distance he traveled? 240 miles. Okay, from Gandhi Ashram in Sabarmati, to the Gujarat coastal village, that is Dandi. From Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi. From Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi, 240 miles, Gandhiji walked on barefoot, covering 240 miles, along with his 70 trusted followers, and reached there. The volunteers walked for 24 days. The volunteers walked, this 240 miles they covered in 24 days, about 10 miles a day. Okay. Thousands came to hear Mahatma Gandhi whenever he stopped. Every day he is walking 10 miles and stopping at night. So wherever he stopped in night, the village people of that area, they used to come and meet Mahatma Gandhi. They want to hear about Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi discussed with them. Actually, many women, they said that they will also want to be the part of this Dandi March. But Mahatma Gandhi said that they should concentrate, they should look to their domestic course, they should look after their children and their husbands. Okay, like that. So thousands came to hear Mahatma Gandhi wherever he stopped. And he told them what is meant by Swaraj. Mahatma Gandhi told all these people what is meant by Swaraj, and he urged them to peacefully defy the Britishers. I am fighting for Swaraj, and you people also please oppose the British government, British rule. On 6th April, he reached Dandi. And ceremonially he violated the salt laws and took a water, and he manufactured salt by boiling seawater. He reached on 6th April 1930, reached the coastal village Dandi, and ceremonically he violated the British salt law, which is made at the time by the British government, and he took the seawater and he manufactured salt. So this marked the beginning of civil disobedience movement. When he manufactured salt by violating the salt laws in the Dandi village, the Gujarat sea coast, this marked the beginning of the civil disobedience movement. How was this movement differed from non-cooperation? Now let us see. One question will be asked to you. What is the difference between civil disobedience movement and non-cooperation movement? What is the difference between civil disobedience movement and non-cooperation movement? This question will be asked. So, how this movement different from civil non-cooperation movement? People are now asked not only to refuse cooperation. People are not only asked to refuse to cooperate with the British, as they had done in 1921-22, but also to break colonial laws. In non-cooperation, we said that we will not cooperate with the British, and this movement started in 1921-22. Non-cooperation movement was started in 1921-22. Civil disobedience movement started in 1930. In non-cooperation movement, we refused to cooperate with the Britishers, but in civil disobedience movement, along with this non-cooperation, we also decided not to break the British colonial laws. Thousands in different parts of the country broke the salt laws. When Mahatma Gandhi made the salt, this news spread throughout India. In all coastal states, people started breaking salt laws, violating salt laws, and started making salt. The people manufactured salt and demonstrated in front of the government salt factories. They made salt and they went to the government salt factories and they made demonstration slogans. As the movement spread, foreign cloth was boycotted, liquor shops were picketed, peasants refused to pay the revenue and the chowkidari taxes, village officials resigned, and in many places forest people violated forest laws, going into the reserved forest areas to collect wood and to graze their cattle. So these are also the part of the civil disobedience movement, violating the colonial laws. Worried by the developments, by seeing all these developments, the colonial government began arresting the Congress leaders one after another. This led to violent clashes in many places. The British government saw that the civil disobedience movement is going, bigger and bigger, stronger and stronger in India. So immediately the British government decided to control this movement That's why they started arresting the leaders one by one. There was a violent clashes in many parts of India. When Abdul Ghaffar Khan, actually his name is what? Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan. When Abdul Ghaffar Khan, a devout principal of Mahatma Gandhi, who is Abdul Ghaffar Khan? A devout principal of Mahatma Gandhi, was arrested in April 1930. Then angry crowds demonstrated in the streets of Peshawar. He belongs to Peshawar. Actually, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan is called Frontier Gandhi. Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan is called Frontier Gandhi. So one of the devout one of the devout disciple of Mahatma Gandhi, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, who is called the Frontier Gandhi, he was arrested. Hence, all the people, they made demonstrations in Peshawar, facing armed cars and police firing. Many were killed. A month later, when Mahatma Gandhi himself was arrested, then industrial workers in Solapur, after 1 month, Mahatma Gandhi was arrested. One by one, I told you. So Mahatma Gandhi was arrested. Then many industrial workers in Solapur attacked on police posts, municipal buildings, law courts, and railway stations. All structures of the British government are being damaged. A frightened movement responded with a policy of brutal repression by the British government. Peaceful satyagrahis were attacked. Even peaceful satyagrahis were also attacked by the British government. Women and children were beaten badly, and about 1 lakh people were arrested during the civil disobedience movement. Okay. Now, in such situation, Mahatma Gandhi once again decided to call off. When this civil disobedience movement started into violent, in that situation, Mahatma Gandhi also decided to call off this movement. So in such situation, Mahatma Gandhi once again decided to call off the movement and entered into a pact with Lord Irwin in March 1931. So one agreement was held. One pact means one agreement was held between Mahatma Gandhi and Lord Irwin in 5th March 1931. By this this is called Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Gandhi-Irwin Pact was signed on 5th March 1931 because Mahatma Gandhi found that violence is increasing. He called up the civil disobedience movement, and unwillingly he went on one agreement with the Lord Viceroy, that Lord Irwin. That pact was known as Gandhi-Irwin Pact, which was signed between these two people, Mahatma Gandhi and Lord Irwin, on 5th March 1931. So, by this Gandhi-Irwin Pact, Gandhiji consented. He was asked to participate in the round table conferences, which was organized in London in 1930. Okay. But the Congress party, actually 3 round table conferences were called at London. In the first roundtable conference, the Indian National Congress leaders, they boycotted. They have not attended, telling that unless all those 1 lakh satyagrahis or people who were arrested during this civil disobedience movement, unless they are been released, they will not participate in the roundtable conference. Okay. So finally, in December 1931, all people were released. So in December 1931, in the second roundtable conference, Gandhiji went to London to participate in the second roundtable conference. And the second roundtable conference was convened by Ramsay MacDonald, the convener of the meeting. So in that meeting, Ramsay MacDonald announced one communal award. But the negotiations broke down, and once again Mahatma Gandhi returned disappointment. In the second roundtable conference, which was held in 1931, Ramsay MacDonald was the convener. He announced the communal award. That means he decided that separate seats will be given to Muslim Leagues, Indian National Congress, depressed class people, and various other parties. He announced that one. So Mahatma Gandhi felt that this Ramsay MacDonald, by announcing separate electorates for all parties, is going to divide our Indian society and the unity of Indian people. Hence, in the middle of that second round of conference, Gandhiji was disappointed, and he boycotted that second round of conference and came back to India and went to Pune and started fast unto death. Amran Anshan. So back in India, he discovered that the government has begun a new cycle of repression. Ghaffar Khan and Jawaharlal Nehru were both in jail at that time. Okay. The Congress had been declared illegal. The Congress party was declared illegal, and a series of measures had been imposed to prevent meetings, demonstrations, and boycotts. With great apprehension, Mahatma Gandhi relaunched the civil disobedience movement. So for over a year, he relaunched once again the civil disobedience movement. For over a year, the movement continued, but in 1934, this civil disobedience movement also lost its momentum and it came to an end. So up to here I am stopping, students, and in coming videos I will cover few more topics and I'll send you. Okay, thank you, students. I suggest you to read the textbook once again. Thank you.